Greetings, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Those of you who are watching it on the Thai Bangalore YouTube channel, we have an exciting session. We're going to begin with an industry perspective presentation by Mr. Divyanshu from Accenture. Over to you, Mr. Divyanshu.
Hey, thanks, Vinay. I will quickly share my screen and let me know if it is visible. And maybe you can just give me a nudge that it is visible, and then maybe we'll start.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So, good morning, everybody. Happy to meet everybody on this particular session. I hope there are a lot of takeaways based on whatever Vinay has put up a very strong, I will say, leaders from the industry to put together. So what I'm going to talk about is more around what is happening in this industry, right? Logistics industry. So I will quickly jump to that and maybe, so what has happened, see, right now, means logistic industry was always fragmented. It has always been an industry where you don't see the best of the, I will say the skilled laborers, I will say the white collar laborers, right? So white collar people who are working in this. So, and there were a lot of inefficiency, congestion, and what happened in the last two and a half years because of COVID and the recent UK-China trade relations, there were a lot of strains, and then the crude oil prices, Russia-Ukraine war, the entire supply chain, as we all know, right, in multiple industries has just broken. And there has been a lot of interventions, a lot of innovations which has happened in the last few years because of these challenges in logistics industry. And also because one of the key trends which we are seeing is because we have got, in the last 3 to 4 years, we have got so much as a customer, as an end customer on B2C platforms, that the experience which we are getting on B2C platforms is the same experience everybody requires in a B2B side of things. And that is where the entire thing on logistics also becomes very interesting. Means not to mention it becomes challenging as well, because there are a lot of moving parts, and logistics is all about movement, right? And on top of that, there are a lot of government regulations because of there is so much focus on right now on sustainability, and given that transportation industry as such and the logistics industry as such contributes to around 20% of the CO2 emissions globally, there is a huge imperative on this logistics industry as well to kind of manage with sustainable practices, which makes the entire thing costly. But on the other side, they have to ensure that they work with technology and ensure that everything is getting delivered to the customer on time with the most cost-effective manner. So these are the challenges which I will say the current logistics industry is facing. And because of that, a lot of trends which has come up, and that is where I was talking about and why it is helping to drive the SaaS adoption as well. Because if you see right now, earlier what used to happen is there were a lot of global companies, right? So if you talk about the SAPs and the Oracles of the world, they were all concentrated, all these big ERPs were built in Germany and US, and we have been, all the Fortune 500 companies has been using. But now if you see, because of so much transition in this logistics industry in the last 3 years, a lot of technology interventions, a lot of new innovative solutions are coming out of India. And it is not only means creating a huge impact in the overall freight and logistics paradigm for in India, it is also helping global companies. So that is a huge shift which we are seeing, which is happening in the logistics industry right now. The another trend which is very interesting is that most of the logistics companies and even the OEMs, right, and major players, retail players, are trying to get vertically and horizontally integrated. So if you talk about Amazon, right? So Amazon has their own logistics arm. If you talk about Mahindra Logistics, they have, it's a OEM, but they have a logistics arm of their own, right? And Amazon and Mahindra recently tied up for the EV vehicles as well. So there are a lot of things which are happening where companies are moving and kind of, so if we talk about Maersk, right? So the global shipping company, they partnered with Blackbuck, right? Which is a big logistics company in India, to ensure that they have a control over they manage a big portion, because India being a very huge market, right, and a lot of export and imports, and they wanted to kind of integrate their shipping logistics with the road transport. So there are a lot of things which are happening, which are backward integration and forward integration as well. And I spoke about sustainability. Sustainability is becoming a very, very big role, playing a very, very big role. And all these things are getting enabled through SaaS platforms, right? Because, and why SaaS is getting integrated in the ecosystem? Because first, it is cheaper, and second, it is scalable, and the time to market is very less, right? So because of these three reasons, SaaS adoptions is becoming, it's like any app, right? So if you want to bring your business into, scale your business and want to do business in multiple cities, it's so easy that you can just download an app and get yourself integrated, enter your credentials, and you start working on it, right? So it becomes so easy that you can scale up, start new business, try to integrate with other ecosystem partners. And so that is also very, very important. And the entire supply chain, there are a lot of innovations which are happening to make the entire thing very resilient. And these are some of the big players, right? So from Accenture, we work with mostly the large big players in this particular industry. But the big players also are getting the heat because of smaller players, right? Because they have been traditionally managing their business in a certain way. But they are also getting, I will say, impacted because of the new players which are coming, the new SaaS players which are coming into the picture. So if you talk about FedEx, right? They are leveraging a lot of AI and ML to integrate your weather, traffic conditions to manage the bring in efficiency in their logistics management. Similarly, if you talk about UPS, right? So they want to be carbon neutral by 2050. So that also brings a very different dimension to that entire thing of logistics, where traditionally the vehicles they have been using, they need to kind of move them to a different kind of vehicle, and how they can ensure that they use sustainable fuels and other technologies to ensure that they leverage sustainable practices. So that this is becoming very, very important for every company, whether it is big or small. And that is what I just wanted to highlight, whether Indian startups and Indian ecosystem players in the logistics place are also doing a lot of great things. E-Ships, MERS, the integration which I spoke about, BlackBuck, which is a big logistics company in India. There are several other companies in India in this space who are doing a lot of innovations, and not only helping the Indian ecosystem, but also helping global companies as well. Moving on, this is not a very exhaustive list, but I just wanted to just show a kind of a spectrum of value chain for logistics. So it kind of touches that entire value chain, right? So logistics touches every value chain, whether it is about manufacturing in an industrial company, manufacturing in a fashion industry, manufacturing in the oil and gas industry. So the entire value chain is impacted, and there are a lot of technology interventions and SaaS capabilities which can help, whether it is talking about connected ports and logistics, connected containers, creating a digital twin of a vehicle. We have been talking about digital twin for manufacturing plants. Why not a digital twin for a vehicle where you can know what is happening and a lot of companies have come up right now. We are also working with one of the startups which helps create a digital twin for entire vehicle, where you can know where the vehicle is, whether the seat belt is on, what are the tire pressure for that particular thing, how it is currently doing, what is the speed, everything you can track remotely. And if say there are a lot of technologies which has come up, where in a warehouse you can know that when a particular vehicle, when a truck is entered and when it is coming out, you don't need a physical person, everything can be done, and you can automate it and give a nudge to somebody in a control tower kind of a setup, where somebody can call that particular guy that why you are spending so much time in a particular warehouse, right? So all those things can be kind of managed because of SaaS capabilities, and that is where SaaS has a very key role to play. And that's where you see a lot of startups and a lot of big companies as well working with startups and building in-house capabilities to build new capabilities in this particular industry. So concluding means I spoke about the industry, I spoke about what are the key trends. So what's in store for the future means I just want to conclude with that the 5 things which I see is going to kind of transform further this particular logistic industry globally as well as in India. One, as I spoke about, the entire digitization and cloud adoption, which is happening at a very fast pace. The second important thing is on the green logistics, which is all around sustainability, where all the logistics companies and even OEMs, right, they are trying to see which partner to do a partnership with, who can help me drive my sustainability agenda for my company, right? So because scope 1 and scope 2 is something which is in control for that particular company, but say a logistics company, when it comes to scope 3, that is where the logistics company, if they have a green footprint, then they become a very easy partner of choice for any particular OEM or any retailer as well, large retailer as well. Third thing, which is going to be very, very important, and I think you will see a lot of collaboration, right? So there will be a lot of collaboration between different I will say transport companies, right? So where they cannot say provide in a particular local area. And that is where these whole SaaS companies will come into the picture, where they can kind of integrate everybody in the same platform, and they can do asset sharing, revenue sharing, invoice generation, everything, right? And a lot of automation you are going to see already in the logistics space in US, and there are certain POCs being done in India where they're talking about leveraging drone, automated guided vehicles in warehouses for faster delivery of shipments, where you don't need human beings, and human beings can be involved to manage exceptions and do better customer service, and they can work more closer to the customer, right? So these 5 are going to be the future, I think, which are going to drive this industry. And overall, the one thing which is going to underline is the entire line transformation bit. So whatever we do, since it is a very fragmented industry, as I have said earlier, so how the end users, not only customers, even the employees of this logistic company, how they get transformed to use the technology is going to play a very key role in how this industry is going to shape up. So that's all what I had to share. I think I had limited time, but I hope it was useful. Thank you.
Yes, very profound insights that you have shared. You had mentioned about collaborate and scale, and I see that you had the jigsaw puzzle. So it shows that it is a fragmented industry, and as you rightly said, the end user and employees, how they go to leverage technology is going to be key. Next, we have with us, we have a startup founder's perspective. We have Shivdeep here. Hi, Shivdeep.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the time. So, Vinay, shall I proceed?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Like Divan shared, I just want to give you some overview of why SaaS is getting accepted in the market. So I'll just tell you about, there are a solution that has happened in B2C. There are solutions that is needed in B2B. So me and my other colleagues, when we visited a couple of warehouses, so I'll just talk about outbound dispatch in a particular warehouse. Think of a big warehouse where you have great systems in place like ERP, you have WMS, warehouse management systems. But there are cases when it is supposed to go, the parcel has to go out from a warehouse to a particular dealer or distributor. There could be a lot of manual operation that we are trying to see. So some of the challenges or inefficiencies that we foresee at India as a market, one of it is manual operations. So why? Because ERP has its own way of functioning and WMS has its own way of functioning. Post WMS activity, most of the logistics activity takes a backseat. One, it could be you have to send the goods from your warehouse to a destination. You'll have to do a lot of manual operation where people come there, do a lot of their documentation, write invoices, write the errorable copies and dispatch. Second, because of all these manual activity, there is very slow inventory movement. So the biggest business that everybody's thinking is how can I make my inventory move very faster? So if I'm not able to use leverage technology, then the inventory movements become very slow, with which there's a lot of inventory carrying cost that gets imbibed to the business. And once the products are moved, one of the biggest challenge we face is there is no complete visibility for any businesses in terms of parcel that is going out. So I'm predominantly talking about outbound logistics where parcels are getting shipped. And leading to all these three, you have operation and freight cost increased. So what is some solution that we are trying to think is, there is a customer systems on one side where there could be ERP, TMS, marketplace, platform, WMS. There could be multiple logistics company systems on other side. How these two systems are disconnected, because there is no application as a middleware without having to connect these two systems. What the important point is, if two applications are interconnected, the data flow becomes very fast, which is what is missing and leading to a lot of issues in terms of manual operation, no visibility, inventory is very slow, the cost of operation is getting higher. So if you see here, too many applications on the one side, too many courier companies on the other side, connecting to all of these becomes an issue. Platforms what we are trying to offer as a tech stack to a lot of large enterprises post ERP and WMS or could be any of the sales platform, is having the right middleware to connect between two systems. So one on the other side could be multiple applications, be it ERP, be it WMS, be it TMS, or in terms of any sales channel, and connected with multiple logistics company. The reason of this is why SaaS as an application takes a very higher acceptance in this market is it's very easy to quickly launch a particular solution rather than having to design a particular application and have it deployed, versus a plug and play kind of model where you connect your systems and you're good to go. So that's where a SaaS application and the startups in India are taking a very high leverage of having to get this product accepted, not just for India as a market. It is also getting accepted at Asia Pacific and Middle East kind of geographies. So what was happening manually in terms of post invoice or post dispatch of an ERP, completely it is automated. So warehouse, which was closing because of the manual operation, they were closing at 8-10 o'clock a particular warehouse. With this automation, they're able to close on time, which means operation cost has come down. Subsequently, they're able to dispatch more volume from a particular warehouse with this kind of automation. Plus, they have liberty to scale with multiple logistics partners with a single integration platform like ours. We'll be able to get complete automation. So logistics industry experts, supply chain head, or any logistics head would find it very relevant, saying that, okay, instead of me having to have my IT team do multiple integration, can we have a solution where it can be completely integrated, where my dispatch becomes faster, my visibility gets better? Can I take more order with the same infrastructure without having to increase my either warehouse space or increasing more manpower? Like Mr. Divyan said, it's basically you don't need the manual resources to the same manual activity, whereas you can make them give automations in place and make them do better work, with which your productivity increases. So here is some solution. So where we work on order to dispatch to delivery kind of solution, and it gives complete visibility for a B2B or B2C kind of automation that we are trying to work with. So I just stop here because there is a lot more solution. Like every startup that we are trying to speak to, or any new SaaS application that is coming in the market, has great solution that is being rendered, because logistics is a very wide spectrum. So everybody is offering a particular expertise niche in particular segment. Somebody does it inbound, somebody does it outbound, somebody has international cross-border solutions, somebody has got warehousing solutions, automation. So each solution is adding value to this kind of businesses, which is giving scale for operation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivdeep. It was an insightful presentation based on actual experiences that you have had. So now what we will do is we will have the speakers on Spotlight. I see Mohammed Niaz. I see Mr. Pinak Kulkarni. Then we have the other speakers as well. Let's just put you all on Spotlight so that... So what we'll go about doing now is we will have a brief introduction in 30 seconds each. We can start with Mohammed Niaz and then to Mr. Pinak Kulkarni. Yeah, over to you, Mohammed Niaz, about what you do and...
Hi all, thanks for having me in this panel. So I've been developing this TMS software for around 7 to 8 years. So we have basically been exporting the software to Malaysia. We have very little customers in India. So what we have done is, the world is, when we say SaaS as a software, all the logistics company, right, they have all those digital platforms where they can run their business. But when it comes to transporters, they don't have much of a software to run. They simply run on manual process like Excel sheets and job sheets. What we have done is we have developed a software where they can track their own business plus their own vendor or vendor truck fleets, right? They can track that business also. So that's what we are doing here.
Fantastic. I think we moved from a startup to supply chain strategist with over 2 decades of experience. Over to you, Mr. Pinak.
Thank you, Vinay. All through my 22 years, I have only been in supply chain. I work in this domain across multiple industries. I mean, Siemens to Asian Paints, Tanishq Jewelry to Titan Watches. They're all my clients in this domain of helping them improve their supply chains. I'll just leave it here. Apart from that, there may be a lot of introduction which someone can.
Sure. We already have quite a few questions. In fact,
Yes.
so I'll move to Suryansh. Suryansh, over to you.
Hi, Vinay. Thank you. So, folks, I'm Suryansh. I'm a VP business at a startup called Dukaan. One of the verticals that I had is logistics among them. And we're an interesting addition to this discussion because we are a developer of B2B SaaS softwares, and as well as we're a user of them when it comes to a lot of platform optimizations and so on. And hence, this is interesting. Over to you, Vinay.
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. Thank you for your introduction. So we will start with the first question. In fact, as you guys know, we have the SaaS Insider Annual Conference, which is happening in Bangalore, and got to meet a lot of SaaS companies and the ecosystem players around here. One thing that many of the speakers and many of the folks in the space are keen, and I think all of you could reiterate, is the advantages of a SaaS-based software in today's day and age. I will start with Suryansh, and then we move to Divyanshu, Shivdeep, and the others.
So, guys, as we as a community, as a market, we want things faster and faster more than ever. Meaning, right from your 10-minute deliveries to getting things done instantly to clicking a button and getting your work done. So everything is moving very fast. In such a scenario, if people are looking to succeed as a business, you need to focus on what is core to your business. What is the problem that you're solving? And just focus on that. There are a lot of supplemental tasks and activities that happen. So for instance, let's say you are selling garments online. Then your focus should not be in developing the website or optimizing the website or figuring out how to get my drop-offs to be better, how to remarket, how to use logistics as a service. Your focus should be in understanding your consumer, making your product, and that's about it. And everything else, you should look at it from a perspective of saying, okay, how do I figure out people who are subject matter experts who have done this, and how do I leverage on what they have built? And that is where SaaS comes in play. Not only is it the level of expertise that it brings in, but also the fact that it's a lot more cost effective than doing it yourself. And from a time perspective, time is something that we have ignored in the past, but in the pace that we are in right now in this world, time is very critical, and SaaS helps you overcome that very, very quickly. Let me give you a few examples. So I'll as I was introducing myself, I said that we are a user of SaaS softwares, and we are a SaaS platform ourselves. So giving one example, we enable a lot of businesses to come online, and we take care of everything when it comes to online businesses, right from getting your website to managing payments to figuring out logistics and warehousing for you to financial accounting and so on. So all of this together is what we do. Now, a part of it is logistics. Now, when you get to logistics, and as Shiv was mentioning, that you have multiple players in the market like a Delivery or a FedEx or a Blue Dart or an Express. I'm just talking about India. And if you want to work with all of them, you will need to integrate with all of them. They have different types of techs, different types of pace on their technology stacks in terms of how they'll support you on integrations and so on. So I can give you an example that I took almost 5 months to integrate 3 players. And when I integrated with eShips, I integrated 3 players in 2 to 3 weeks, right? So that's the kind of pace that it can get you. And we are a tech company. The largest size team that we have is the tech team. And still, focusing on what you want to build for your clients is very important. What is the service that you want to give? And people get lost in details of saying, okay, I can do this myself. Let me go and build it myself. It may add value to you maybe 3 years down the line when this problem is big enough for you, but it may not add value right now. And that is something that you need to focus on very much in terms of how you go about it. How do you, and then the question arises, how do you actually select a SaaS platform? That becomes a very important question, saying, okay, there are so many people claiming so many things in the market. How do you go about it? Having worked and having been in this space for some time, I can tell you it's very important to understand what problem you want to solve. And I'll give you an example. So from a logistics point of view, let's say you are a B2C company and you are facing a lot of RTOs, meaning return to origin, meaning the consumer is not taking your stuff when the delivery partners goes there and delivers the item to the consumer. So how do you go about solving this? Now, one way to look at this would say is RTO is my problem. And then you just look at people who come and tell you saying, how do you reduce RTO? And you look at SaaS softwares who claim they have done 50%, 70% reduction of RTO. That is one approach. But I would advise that you deep dive into your problem a little bit before you actually pick up a SaaS partner. So in terms of RTO, you should understand saying, okay, is it the quality of consumer? Is it the quality of address? Is it the quality of delivery partner? Is it the quality of service of that delivery partner in that particular area? So there are multiple factors which will lead to understanding saying, what is it that you want to solve? Once you have deep dive into your own problem, then you are in a better situation to figure out which partner to go for in terms of solving this particular problem. Right. And that's something that becomes very important.
Great. Now, we are also streaming it live on our social channels. So we're getting a lot of questions. So hope to get as many answered as possible. So if anyone has inputs to add on this, please feel free to. And we have the next question, which is basically, you spoke a lot about B2C. We want to know the difference between B2C and B2B. In fact, I see that Shivdeep and his team have moved from business to consumer to business, and would like to know from him after this. Anyone has inputs on this, why people are adopting SaaS, or else we'll move to the next question.
I think I have
sure, please.
I think at Accenture also, I think I totally agree with what Shuryan said, right? So focus on the core was the key message which he was trying to say. And that is what we also tell to our clients that, so we also have a lot of, because we are IT consulting and IT services company where we work with a lot of clients and where everybody wants to do everything, that let me open a capability and let me start doing that work for us, right? And that is where, and many companies, they are not able to succeed because their core is different, right? A manufacturing company's core is doing manufacturing and not IT, right? And that is where, because they are very good in running an assembly operation inside a manufacturing plant, but they might not be very good in building a particular IT solution to ensure that all the components, all the moving parts of a manufacturing plant works together, right? So that is where it is very important to understand your core. And SaaS plays a very key role because, like Shuryan said, the time to market, right? So if I want to start a business tomorrow in Delhi, or say I want to start my operations in Mumbai, and if I have an on-prem solution, right, it becomes very difficult for, first is how to get people on board, because that becomes a very, very huge challenge. Today, if you see, whether we talk about fintech, we talk about logistics startups, we talk about any other edtech, right? Edtech also is one of the areas, right? Why it is scaling so fast? Because it's all SaaS, right? It is all on cloud, and cloud in a way also touches upon one of the critical components of sustainable practices, which I earlier spoke about, that moving to cloud is because most of these SaaS players, right, the big CSPs, cloud service providers, they themselves are looking onto it as a very key area for them. So that's all about this.
Sure.
Thanks.
In fact, we have an audience question here. So I thought I'll put it across to Niaz and then come to the B2B and B2C, right? Since he works as a customer, I'll be able to get the product which can address all the points above in today's thing as an enterprise offering, except the cost factor. What is the reason why SaaS would be a better deal? Would you like to take a shot at it, Niaz?
Yeah, sure. So why you should go for a SaaS is, I will give you a real-time situation as a customer. We faced with Fujitsu Malaysia. What they told me is, they have their own software. They are asking the customers to, send their orders to them, but through an email. Now they send it to Fujitsu. What Fujitsu does, it finds their transport partner, send the orders to their software manually or through APIs, right? So once the transport company takes over the order, there is no visibility for the customer, right? So the customer knows the order is placed with Fujitsu. He does not know where is his order. So you need a SaaS platform where they can place their own order. So the Fujitsu and the transport partner, both of them are connected. Now the customer has the visibility of his order. He knows what is the order status. And he also knows where the actual location of this order is. So when you are connected to a SaaS platform, you will be able to place order not only with Fujitsu, but with all other integrations which the SaaS platform has. So you can also ask the SaaS platform to, integrate the customers or the transport partners which you need, so that you can have visibility on one single platform for all your orders. So that would be your reason to move to SaaS.
Perfect. I think you've answered it quite well. Integrations and the dashboard. So I'll just move to the next question. What is a typical difference between a business to business and business to consumer customer needs? I will start with Mr. Pinak Kulkarni, since he has worked with many large companies, and then I'll move to the founder of eShips, Shivdeep, on why he made that move. Over to you, Pinak.
I mean, the inherent difference that I would imagine is, if you put a broader framework to that, there's a consumer and there's a customer. B2B is typically a customer and B2C is typically a consumer. Now, in B2B context, the need for what I call it as SITA, S-I-T-A, simultaneous, instantaneous, transparent, and accurate availability of information. I mean, that's something that I think is easy to remember. The term is SITA. I think the need for SITA is much higher in case of B2B as compared to B2C. Whereas in case of B2C, those consumers are FICA consumers, in my opinion. I call them as FICA: fragile, intricate, chaotic, and extremely anxious. In B2B, there's a continuity. So I know that if, for example, sometime back, Divyanshu gave us an example in that chat room where we were talking about Mahindra Logistics. Now, they happen to be a company with whom I work. Now, if they hand over something to Gati and it has to go to, let's say, Mahindra and Mahindra Chakan plant, the need for visibility is much, much different than if same Mahindra Logistics hands it over to Gati for an Sony or an Amazon parcel. There's an inherent framework difference between these two. The SITA requirements are different and the context in which they work are completely different.
Right. Yeah.
Great. So, Vinay, if I'm answer, basically from a logistics point of view, if I look at all the things from a logistics point of view, except for customer expectation, both platform logistics activities take the parcel, get it delivered. But only difference is who is the customer who's receiving the parcel. If it's a B2B, there's a different way of the packages get handled. If it is B2C, a different way. While we are working with Dukan and with Suryansh, basically, their way of approach is there are so many customers across India because it is a B2C kind of model. The packages has to be they need to get more logistics partners quickly enabled so that their reach gets increased very fast and their visibility for the customers to where the packages are coming. A typical B2C kind of scalability and then making sure customer gets complete visibility. These are the two major things that B2C would look at. If it is a B2B, what happens is the complexity of operation is slightly different. In a B2C, like single packet, single delivery, but if it is in B2B, single airway will have too many boxes get delivered. And it is going to a dealer distributor who are not but there is not much of conflict of addresses, where the returns are more or expectations in terms of when can I get delivery, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock kind of it. But there is a inherent differences the large volume consignment versus small packet consignments. So as a logistics tech stack, that what we're trying to do is as logistics partners would more or less have different capability handling B2C, B2B. As a platform, we are trying to offer a single stack for a B2C customer versus a B2B customer as well. With this, we are able to make sure that the solution that anybody look for a dispatch of goods is completely available, ready, quick, and go. And customers are having the requirement of customer engagement tools like post shipment customer engagement. It needs to be super proactive. Like Amazon deliveries do keep continuously engage the receivers in that, hey, your packet is arriving. There's a lot much of information that goes. For a B2B point of view, it's not too much of customer engagement, but rather they need a lot of proof of deliveries in that. Is it really delivered? Is it delivered intact? Is it is it partially delivered because there's too much of value? Or is it stuck because of particular documentation available at the destination saying that e-way is not there, couple of documents are not there. So scenario keeps changing, but logistics providers do same package movement from A to B, and way of operation slightly changes.
Right. Makes sense. We got another question from Umang. So while we take it a bit later, I thought we'll focus on 3 key areas. In fact, one of those points have already been shared in the question. One is around how are organizations, and since TiE and many of these ecosystems are startup driven, how are people picking up what problem to solve? How are they identifying challenges, and how are they pursuing their integrations? So this question, I thought I'll put it across to Divyanshu and then Suryansh on identifying problems to solve.
So I think one of the things Suryansh, I think earlier mentioned while answering the previous question is that how to select a SaaS player, right? And that is entirely dependent on the problem you want to solve, right? You might, he gave an example of RTO, right? Where the problem might be within you, it might be with the customer, it might be with the logistics, right? There are 3 parts to it: the guy who is delivering the technology, the customer as well, right? So you need to understand what is the real problem you are trying to solve, and then kind of focus with it, right? And one of the things on integration, which was also discussed earlier, is that you need to integrate with the right partner, right? There are so many platforms, and I like Shiva was saying that his platform is kind of catering to B2B and a B2C, both kind of a framework, right? So do you need, if you are into the business of B2B and B2C, do you need 2 platforms or you want a 1 platform? So I think those are the things which you need to take care when you are selecting the right platform, right integration points, trying to solve the right problems. So that's where it becomes very, very important.
Yeah. And the other question that we had was around typical challenges with talent transformation in the industry and upskilling trends. I think this is something that is in the expertise of Mr. Pinnock. How do you work with talent transformation in the industry?
To be fair with you, the kind of clients that I work with, I see typically 4 pillars of this challenge. First and foremost, necessarily, I don't wish the industry to have the core competencies at all. What core competencies they need to have is not the tech competency. So when we are looking at talent, my challenge typically is the supply chain heads not appreciative of looking at tech as a new business value creation proposal. The old school of thought continues to be, okay, tech is an enabler for me to run the business. Whereas with this SaaS-based models, I'm actually looking at it as, can I create a new business model around this tech, which did not exist before? Now, that's challenge number 1. It's not about a particular skill. It's about lack of appreciation that technology is no more an enabler. It is actually a way to create a new business model. Second, we have too many transactional level softwares in a company. And we are, coming to that skill part of the story, there are too many transactional level softwares. I consider all the SAPs and the Oracles and the JD Edwards only as transactional. You may find a rare client who might have implemented an APO and APS or something like that. Now, when you look at APO, for example, did APO not have a logistics angle to it? Yes, it had in SNP. It's not that it did not have. But the type of softwares which are available today as SaaS platform softwares are genuinely different. And I don't think if, let's say, I were to be an Asian Paints employee, I don't think I'll tell either Shiv or Surya that this is how I want to run the software. I'll tell him that my challenge is lack of instantaneous availability of data. Now you solve that problem for me, I'm done. Now this skill itself of defining what problems I want the software to solve for me is something that is really a major challenge at this stage. A lot of people are getting guided by what technology companies tell them. There's an overhang of the CTOs trying to interfere with business decisions. And that's where the thing is. Third, these distributed softwares are not a good thing. I mean, when I was hearing Suryansh talk about 3 weeks versus 3 months, it took me to my Gati days. Gati was my client for some time. And we had the same challenges. I call it as a pipeline. The pipeline connects to softwares. And I had a client where, they implemented a WMS. And while implementing, they thought that, look, my guys have done the right job. And after implementation, it could not connect itself with SAP B1. So my investment of couple of million rupees is lying idle. Now that's where I come, that the supply chain head needs to understand these things. It's not the CTO who needs to really think about these things. CTO did a job of getting it implemented. And last but not the least, from a skills perspective, manufacturing industry does not have people with these competencies. And I think we should not even force them to have that. SaaS-based competencies are typically different. I mean, I'm countering the question itself. Is there a challenge of upskilling? I'm saying I don't want to skill these guys in SaaS. I'm saying let these guys not, if you're a watch company, know how to procure the components for a watch, know how to distribute the watch. If you're Tanishq handling jewelry, know how to handle that. Leave the tech part to my guys who are handling the SaaS part of it or whatever technology part of it. So I might sound a bit counterintuitive to the question, but the fourth pillar, which I'm very clear, is I want to de-skill these guys, not upskill.
Fantastic take, because it'll be interesting to know how e-ships, which are scaled with many team members, do you talk about technology and SaaS a lot to the people you work with? Not the core team, I'm saying the other team members, or how do you hire and train them?
Yeah, very interesting. The biggest challenge that I see today, is scaling. In how are we able to acquire talent, and how are we able to train the problem that we are trying to solve? So once we have this knowledge transfer being done to the team, they find it very easy to connect with people and then explain the solution that we are trying to offer to customer. Logistics is something like Mr. Pnack was saying that the operation guys, the manufacturing guys, or basically somebody from tech domain or business guys might not really know what could be the basic challenges are. I'll give you one small narrative. Whenever we meet manufacturing logistics head, supply chain head, they think that printing barcode means like automation completed. So I have done everything, because they think that एक barcode आ गया invoice के ऊपर हो गया. But actually we are saying that it's not connected systems. So we are saying that there is system connecting that needs to be done to make sure you have data flow seamlessly. Like even Niaz was saying that I've placed an order, that's it. Placed order ho gaye to visibility kahan hai? Like where is it happening? Where is it going? There's no visibility. So to give complete narrative to the team members and making sure that they are trained to explain these kind of mindset change with the logistics head, we find this as one important element right now. Besides that, scaling as an opportunity that we have is whether it is a B2C large logistics head or versus a B2B one. A right solution, right problem, if you're able to narrate to the team, we should be able to get the deals done faster.
Right. So Niaz, how have you been addressing the team building, and how big is your team?
So our team is around 10 to 12 people. So what we are building is, it's more of a we want to integrate with eShips. So eShips is a platform where all the customers, the end customers, for us it should be end customers. Our customers are transporters. So the end customers who wants to place an order, right? So they have to place, let's say Amazon, Cloudtail is the end customer. He wants to ship something. So when he wants to ship something, he needs to use both the transport middleware, and he has to go for the end delivery guys, like Blue Dart or someone. So you need to have both of them. So what they will do is they will simply place an order with Blue Dart. So now the Blue Dart will actually not do the delivery. They will not have so much of fleet. They will give the order to some transport company. So this transport company will not have any software, right? So this what makes that, the tracking difficult. So you won't be able to know where the order is right now. There should be some manual process where, a person sits there and asks the transporter, where is the truck right now, where is it moving, and he has to keep on updating the system where the consignment is right now. So what we do is, we have the software where the manual process is not needed. You just place the order from your DHL or Blue Dart or FedEx. You just place the order through their API. Our software API, it will give you automated updates to the DHL. So in turn, DHL will have the APIs for e-ships to track the order. So there is a visibility. So you are, when the customer places an order, he knows when some customer calls up and asks, their own customers. So when they call up and ask, where is my consignment, they can simply see in the dashboard or share the link to them, and the tracking part completely is, they need not have the team to attend to those customers. They can simply share the link. So they have the complete visibility from the manufacturing unit to their doorstep.
Right. Oh, I think I see a lot of integrations and partnerships being the way forward. So we're in the final 10 minutes of the session, and I thought we could gather a lot of trends in the industry, technology trends and integrations that today's companies are pursuing in particular the logistics space. So I would like to begin with Mr. Divyanshu and Suryansh, and then go around the table. Over to you, Divyanshu.
Yeah, I think, see, it's not only logistics, means technology is like impacting everything, right? I earlier said about tech, fintech. You name the industry and technology. As Pinnack was earlier saying that it's very difficult for people to move from their traditional approaches to this new approach. Earlier, business was the driver and technology was the enabler, right? And if you go and see the market cap and the top 5 companies, right, the value by valuation or whatever, it is all tech companies. We read a lot about that, right? Whether it is Amazon, Apple, Uber, Tesla, whatever it is, right? So all the moment you remove internet, right, all the businesses are shut. And they have hired so many people, whether it is on field, in their offices, right? So the entire economy is right now, I will say the technology is becoming a key driver, right? And technologies which are coming right now, right? So whether it is 5G, whether it is IoT, recently you must be hearing even us and many startups are jumping into the bandwagon of metaverse, right? Everybody is talking about metaverse. So we work with a lot of big clients in manufacturing space where they are having challenges because of this COVID in doing their product demos, right? So earlier we were working with them and we are now metaverse is getting into the mainstream of things, right? So one of the things which is why in big warehouses, right? In logistics, you must be facing this challenge, but in big warehouses, there must be very tactical problems. Like if I get an order, how can I go and how do I navigate in my warehouse and go there and pick that product, right? And there are so many solutions, right, which are coming up. I was talking last week to somebody that Google has coming up with something, some navigation system they are building, where in the warehouse you can kind of navigate, right, through a mobile app or through a AR glass. You can navigate and you just need to get the order, the product, BOM material details will be there, and it will give you the best path in a warehouse, right? That you go take the right first aisle, pick that material, and go to the second aisle, pick this material. It will tell you the best time. So I think time to market is becoming more and more important. We are getting spoiled, right, by the 8-minute delivery and the 10-minute delivery, right? We are getting spoiled. So it is B2C, but B2B also the expectations are just changing. And that is where this IoT, 5G, and SaaS, all this kind of combined together will play a key role, according to me.
Yeah. I think you mentioned IoT, 5G, and SaaS. In fact, that is, yeah. With 5G, I see a lot more pure tech companies being driven into the space. Surya, over to you.
Vinay, I missed what you were asking. Sorry.
Yeah, so we were doing a round on the key trends, technology trends in the space today. I'd like to know your crystal ball gazing on what kind of trends you see in the industry.
So, from a point of view, what I find very interesting is there are a lot of companies who, and as Devansh was mentioning, that there are a lot of companies who have grown on technology pretty much, and it's not just an enabler, it's their backbone. And what has happened is a lot of first movers in these spaces have created their own niche and have created their own arbitrage in the market. And what that means is if you are a B2B business lining up with a Flipkart or Amazon, your cost of doing business is not small. If you are a D2C brand looking to make your own e-commerce presence and you go to Shopify, your cost of doing that is not very low, or because there are no alternative options, you end up taking that particular cost. Now, if you look at that particular the breakup of their P&L, you'll figure out that there's a lot of arbitrage built in because of an early mover advantage that they had and the kind of presence that they're able to build. What is very interesting is the new age technologies are hitting this particular aspect and saying that if you go to Shopify and they charge you $100 to do something, I will get you a similar experience and do it in $10 because it actually takes me to build it in $2. And that is where a lot of new technology is coming in. The new age businesses who are using technologies is coming in. And I think one of the questions was, I was just looking at the chat that someone mentioned that should I go for an enterprise complete suite of softwares or should I go for a SaaS one? And that is where it becomes very important to understand what your need is, what your immediate need is and what your need would be in your immediate future before you make a choice of saying, okay, SaaS, which helps me do it piecewise at a more cost-effective level at a particular pace versus an enterprise suite, what will suit that particular organization, that becomes an important aspect. So while there are a lot of technologies which are coming up, the interesting aspect is how people are using these technologies to enable services for a lot of people in the market, right? And the way I see this is the technology is growing to give you a lot more for a lot lesser in terms of cost in the market, because technology is being accessed by a lot more people. As a result of which that arbitrage that your initial movers in the market have created is slowly should not be there. Right. And that's very good for B2B businesses.
Right. Now you mentioned technology is not just an enabler, it's a backbone. It's an interesting take. And I would hand it over to Pinak for your thoughts, your final thoughts on trends.
Yeah, I just take it off from where Divyansh and Suryansh have left. Put it, in my opinion, technology trends and what not, from a supply chain perspective, put it in the context of how does the supply chain create value for its consumers or customers, B2B or B2C, whatever you like. I think there are four pillars: time, cost, quality, and service. 8 minutes delivery, 10 minutes delivery using micro fulfillment centers. Yes, you need, time is of essence. Suryan said cost, and there's a cost arbitrage because more the technology gets used, the lesser it costs per person because the fixed cost gets divided. Quality, I link it to Sita. Quality is quality of information being shared. So simultaneous, instantaneous, transparent, and accurate. And where does SaaS add the largest value, in my opinion, apart from time, cost, quality is service. It's up 24/7. And as Mr. Umang had asked sometime back also, that is it the only, is cost the only single variable decision-making parameter to be used? The answer is probably no. Time, cost, quality matters, and more importantly for me, SaaS is service, which is 24/7, helps me. So I see technology from that perspective, and I'm a firm believer. I mean, and Devanshu was speaking sometime back. 2004, we implemented SAP APO in my erstwhile organization. It has taken 18 years for the industry to understand APO, but it did not take industry much of time to understand IoT and the jargons called AI and ML-based technologies. So the rate at which technology is getting adopted and also probably is going to change is going to be reasonably fast. So value creation levers of a supply chain being time, cost, quality, service, focus on that. Technology, use it to redefine business models rather than just looking at it as an enabler to the existing. So that's my take. But next 10 years, at least, I think digitization is safe to assume is at a rapid pace now.
Yeah, the pace of adoption is increasing rapidly.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I'll hand it over to Niaz, and I'll give the last word to Shivdeep. Niaz,
Yeah. So regarding with the trends, right? So what people are expecting now, I will go with what Suryanshu shared earlier with the B2B organizations, why they should choose SaaS, or what makes more sense to choose between a SaaS and an ERP. So what happens is in a B2B type of a business, you need to have to move your internal logistics, you will be having some contractors to move your consignments. But when you are connected to a SaaS platform, you will not only have the contractors with you, you will also have other transporters who are willing to accept at a better price. So that's how you are going to cut your costs when you are moving your consignments. When you are doing asset management, right, you need to have your, you are saying that, internal asset management means you are having your own warehouses. So, but there are people who are willing to share their own warehouses. So when you are connected to a SaaS platform, you will be able to get an aggregated price where, you can keep your assets there. And from there, you can move your logistics, which, when it's kind of a both scenario where you are going to connect your own software to a SaaS platform, or you are going to have a SaaS platform completely, develop everything for you. So you can have a single SaaS platform where you can do your internal logistics and asset management to cut your costs, or you have your own software which is connected to a SaaS platform. So let's say you have a TMS, WMS, all those kind of a software. You connect it to a eShips software, right? So the eShips is having other TMSs or transporters connected to you. So you have a better place to do your logistics. That's what I will say.
Fantastic. So I leave the final word to Shivdeep, because I see you work with many other companies, and you could summarize the trends and takeaways.
Yeah, thank you. So very important thing that I see with the current trends are earlier, before 2015, before 2020, most of it were focusing on ERP, automation, and digitization. Now, what is happening that I personally see is anything around ERP is getting developed. People are trying to tag along when an ERP ends, there are solutions getting built to make sure that there's complete data flow that's happening. So now digitization is right now in place. Over the next few years, once the digitization on the periphery of ERP is completed, I feel that there's a lot more business intelligence data that can go back to ERP to make the ERP more stronger. So that's when the head of supply chain, CEO, CXOs will be able to get more insights. Till procurement, till dispatch was happening, logistics at the periphery. So digitization gets completed in the next few days, next few years. Subsequently, a lot of business intelligence will go back to ERP for CEO, CXOs to get more insights. And lots of applications, solutions, startups will come around the ERP to get the insights, flow information. I feel that that's the trend that's happening around.
Right, insightful. I think a lot of startups and companies would work around the ERP solutions that are being built. Right. Yeah. So with this, I would like to thank all the the participants today and those of you watching it on our various social channels. While we will end the live streaming session, if any of you would like to stay back and network with some of the speakers or share a little more about what you do and